beautiful people. It is a gorgeous Monday afternoon here, and we are here to talk about empowerment through ownership, cultivating healthy boundaries and relationships, which is really about, owning your emotions and your thoughts, but also letting go of the ownership we take of other people's thoughts and emotions, which seems counterintuitive, especially if you have spent a good part of your life feeling responsible for other people's emotions, especially. We tend to think, and people will tell you that you made me angry. No, no, you chose to be angry at something I did or said, but I didn't make you angry. It's a huge, huge distinction. And doesn't mean we're not responsible for what we say. I'm not saying that we don't have responsibility for our own words and actions, but we don't have responsibility for others' thoughts and feelings and emotions and choices of emotions. And this is really, really important in getting ourselves into a place, where we have clarity about who we are and clarity about our boundaries, because most of us because society operates a lot this way. So even if you grew up in a home that was more enlightened in terms of not making you responsible for other people's emotions, a lot of times parents accidentally do that. You made me mad, your behavior is inappropriate. Things that make you feel, and you made me very sad today, or I'm so disappointed in you. And so if you were doing something as a child that felt good to you at the time, and then that disappointed your someone you love, and that you're told to do something different, it starts to make you not no you start to not listen to who you are. From a very early age, you start to lose that, and you start to feel responsible for other people's feelings and other people's life, how it goes. So much so, for some of us, for a long period in my life, and including my entire marriage and how I chose a spouse, I felt responsible, for I felt like I had to make him happy for me to be happy, which is a no win proposition, because you are never responsible for anyone's feelings, or happiness or sadness or how their life goes. Even if you're married to them, you can't be responsible for anybody but you. So when you are allowing yourself to be in that position, you're choosing that because you don't know differently a lot of times. It's really, your life is difficult and challenging, and you end up upset and angry a lot because you can't find your way to happiness, because you're unable to make these other people happy that you think you have to make happy to be happy. And so, and then you allow this to spill over in so many other places, whether it's places that you're active, whether it's your workplace, it's everywhere. Christina said, "Hi, Christina, how are you doing today?" So true. This is something I'm learning myself. Oh, I'm so grateful that my insight has helped you, because it's definitely learned. Victoria says, "How can thoughts create emotions?" Well, because if I am thinking about how you said this to me and how it made me, when I'm thinking about what you said made me feel, that's how I'm creating, and I can go down that pathway and be really mad at you and stay in that place of being angry, and I am disconnecting myself from God source energy, for a not completely disconnected, but definitely less connected, because those same thoughts aren't coming from them. When you're feeling good is when you're more aligned up. So, for instance, if we watch the news, Victoria, and it has things that make us feel negative, things that we choose to see negatively by the way they put them, right? And then our thoughts start going down this path of, oh, this world is a terrible place. All these bad things are going on. If something doesn't change, it's, and then what happens when we start thinking those thoughts is we feel bad. When if we thought to ourselves, something good comes from everything. Even when there's negative stuff, always something good comes out of it. God, the universe has got this. Then we can see that, but think a different pathway. But it's not always easy. So a lot of times you choose what you want to take in order to make it easier to stay in a positive space, because one who is connected to universe, God, source energy is more powerful than millions who are not. If I stay connected and what I do in my life is connecting and teaching love, giving love, then I have power. I am operating in that space with the universe to have the power for the positive outcomes to come. And then let's see. Kimberly said, obviously, as a parent, we know that we influence our children. What you just said was a big awakening for me. Oh, great. Great. Because actually, it's the same with our kids, whether they're little or grown or it's grandkids. When we say to our kids things like, you made me mad, or I'm very disappointed in you, we are teaching them that their point of power is outside themselves, and we want to teach them that their point of power is inside themselves. um so it would be better to say, gosh, I'm really upset at this moment. Let me have a few minutes to kind of get myself together. But don't blame them, because we got upset, but that doesn't mean they made us upset. We chose to take it that way. And how can we choose differently? Sometimes we need a little space. And sometimes you might say, instead of telling them to go in timeout, you might say, I'm going to take a break and go to my room because I need to sort out the conversation that I want to have at this point. And then you're showing them control and the ability to actually think through things and think about what's really fair, and think about it from the point that you want them to have power and learn to believe in themselves and trust themselves and their intuition. So how you approach your conversations with them, you want that to come from that point too. Christina said, she's answering Kimberly, right? I think I didn't realize that a lot of what I go through is due to things that happened unintentionally as an influencer when I was younger. Yes, and we have to realize too that our parents were doing, are still doing, if they're still here, the best they can. And we as parents and grandparents too are doing the best they can and we can with the tools that we have at the time. And we always have the opportunity to continue to learn and grow from that. Kimberly says, changing our language to our loved ones, yes, and to ourselves. So the same point of power we're trying to teach ourselves to change our language around ourselves and not be mean to ourselves, because that's also the way we want to talk to everyone around us, is with that same kindness and that same remembrance of the fact that their journey is theirs and we actually aren't in charge of our journey, and it really isn't our place to tell them what we think is best for their journey. If they ask our opinion, absolutely we can give it. But then when you truly just give your opinion without trying to control the outcome, then you don't ask them if they followed through. You offer it and then you let it be, and you give it with love and you let them figure it out, and you trust that God, the universe, source energy is going to bring them all different kinds of ways. Like they may ask you, and then they may ask other people, and then they may see examples, just like you're being brought different mentors and different books and different webinar, different opportunities to see those things, to hear those things that are meant for you to grow and learn from. They are too. And if we can trust that journey for them as well as for ourselves, we start to have healthier boundaries. And for me, healthier boundaries is freedom, right? Because it's difficult when I feel like they're going down the wrong path, if I feel like I'm responsible for that. But I'm driving them down that path in a lot of ways when I'm criticizing them. And so when I'm no longer responsible and I'm just there to love them right where they are, and maybe to accept, if you're a parent, and especially if your child is older and going through some challenges, maybe some of the challenges that I were going through and didn't know how to handle differently or say differently is part of the challenges they're having. You can take ownership of that without owning them or trying to change their journey, but it just allows you to have compassion for their journey, just like you want to have compassion for your journey. And for yourself, and you want to operate from the kindest place you can for yourself and everyone else. And so that's a whole lot of how we begin to own our emotions, right? So I chose to be angry. Oh, angry is, or I'm angry. Oh, I'm choosing to be angry. Angry is a choice. Okay, the other person might have done something that justifies the anger, that's really not the question. The question is, if I'm in anger, I'm not lined up with universe, God, source energy, all the good magic that I want to come my way. So I they may be worthy of the anger, but am I worthy of the anger? Do I want to live in that space? And if I don't want to live in that space, then I have to find a way to not feel that way. And sometimes, if it's, especially if it's something that's ongoing, or a close relationship where there's a lot of history, you may not be able to completely change that in that moment. So in order not to stay there, you develop coping schools, uh, coping tools, touchstones that can help you. Like, you may need to get off that subject at that moment and think about things that make you feel better, or do something that makes you feel better. Go out for a walk, do yoga, um, do something that makes you feel good. Listen to an incredible playlist you've made for yourself that always makes you want to dance. Work in your garden, so many different things, but things that automatically, but if you go work in your garden and instead of enjoying the garden, you're still having those thoughts, you got to do something to change them. And as you work at learning to have these tools, these different touchstones, these different things that make you feel better, the more you feel better, the more you're going to have the strength and the tools to actually deal with that particular relationship in better ways. Because you have to develop tools for, if someone is able to push your buttons, to, and kids can do this too. And even young kids learn this, and you have to figure out ways to not to control yourself, get into a better space, decide ahead of time. Morning routines are huge for helping yourself, because get yourself in the best place possible every morning. Doesn't have to be long, but a few minutes of meditation, a few minutes of positive journaling, or appreciation journaling, and visioning. And it could be, the simple vision can be a better day or better interactions with this person that you're struggling with. Visioning it going better, visioning how you can make it go better on your end. And when it doesn't happen, be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up because it didn't go well. This is an ongoing thing. Instead, be curious. Well, that didn't work out. What did I see that were the triggers? Because if you can stay more in the moment and try to keep your emotions less out of it, and even when you lost it a little bit, try to keep your brain in the game, because our brain automatically wants to go, like, if something made us mad before, we go straight back to that, and you want to try to change that. And another aspect that you can do, especially with people that you really care about, good people that you really care about, that really truly love you, one of the things you can do is, in the morning, in your morning routine, spend a few minutes thinking, if this is a relationship that's good, but right now it's in a little bit of a tough spot, or you are having the same argument over and over, work on thinking about, and this can be coworkers too, by the way, it doesn't have to be family. Work on thinking of one or two aspects of them that you really appreciate. And that may be all you can come up with to start with, if this is a pretty big rub. And focus on that every morning. And then try to focus on it when you're speaking with them. And at first, you might lose the battle a lot, but you just keep working on that, because what will happen is you'll start attracting better parts of them, and you'll start to be able to appreciate more things about them. And as you do that, you'll bring out more of that positive point of them into your relationship. And you're not changing them, but when you are really focusing yourself on seeing the best in them, they'll start to, there's this inner being between you two, and they'll feel it, and they'll feel that you're being kinder in your heart, even if your words aren't, and you'll start to attract a better part of them, and they'll attract a better part of you, and you can change that relationship. And that's if that's a person that's a good person that's willing to change too. It's a different ball game if you're talking about someone not, so don't get me wrong, someone who is a challenging person to deal with, or someone who's been labeled, by society as a narcissist. And what I mean by that is, those come from points of pain usually. They don't, a lot of times bullies and people along those lines, and they come in all forms, men, women, kids, different. They're operating from a place of not understanding their point of power is within themselves. And so they feel like they're weak and out of control, and their only way to feel more in control is to try to control somebody else, and they only know how to do that by being mean. And so when we own our point of power, they have no control of us, because they can only control people who aren't in their own point of power. If you call me names or you laugh at my clothes and I like my clothes and I like who I am, your words don't matter to me. And they won't stick around because they need to control somebody with those words. And so it's really more empowering to teach as many people as possible how to get into their own point of power, how to not let the bullies, because you can control you. I can at least give you the skills to control you. I can't give you skills to control the bully, right? You can't control somebody else. And we go to the schools as parents and we want them to control the bullies, and they really can't. Now, I will grant you some of the things they've tried to put in place gives the bullies more power, because if the bully doesn't care about the power of the administrators, they're more concerned about finding ways to have power any way they can. They don't care if they get in trouble. Whereas the person they're bullying does, then oh, Kimberly, Christina, so do I. Oh, I can't do anything about that. So all I can do is share it and give other people the opportunity to learn it earlier. I mean, you're still quite a bit younger than me and you're getting to learn it, that's the gift I can give back, because I would give anything if I understood this earlier. I wish I'd understood this so many years ago as a parent. And I can't change that. But, the goal is to give others what I didn't have and the opportunity. We still learn it. You still have to go out and do these things and experiment and see, but at least you have a place to think from that goes, oh, okay, I see. Kimberly says, I am finding it takes time for the people in my life to realize that I'm practicing new behaviors. Yes. Sometimes I have to go back and approach yes, or a third or a fourth. Absolutely. And one of the things too is, Kimberly, a lot of the closer people in your life, even if it's your grown child, so, your parents, you learn these behaviors. They're doing the best they can with the tools they had at the time. Then you, as a parent, still didn't know these tools, right? So everyone around you doesn't have great boundaries either, because you didn't learn it, so they didn't learn it, right? And you didn't learn it from them. And so the hardest part is learning it to begin with, right? Because we're trying to practice it with people that don't really have it either, because they don't understand that. That's why it not only are we learning how to do it, which is hard, but we're learning how to do it with other people who don't understand it. So the hardest part is early on, because as we get better at it, who we attract into our lives is actually people who are better at it. And so it begins to get easier. You're always still learning, and there's never a point where you're not, because you're either growing or you're dying. There's no just status quo. And so I don't know about you, but that's one of my goals, is to be growing and growing always, to never not be learning and growing. Okay, let's see. Christina says, she's agreeing with Kimberly. I'm finding it takes time for the people in my life to realize. Yes. Christina says, same here. And I've had to learn to let go of some people who weren't able to accept the new me. Yes. And sometimes you can let go of them for a while, and then you find they come back around and they're willing to play by your rules at that point. They haven't changed. And you'll find that out because you'll accidentally do something, go, oh yeah, they're the same, but they love you and they want to be in your life. So they start to respect what you say. But you can only do that when you're really clear, like we talked about last week, of being willing to walk away, or I love you, got to go, bye, hang up the phone, when they are when they are crossing those boundaries that you've set. And so it gets easier to me, when I tried to reason, because the thing is, when somebody doesn't respect your boundaries and you feel responsible for them, here's what happens. You feel like you have to convince them that your boundary is appropriate and that you can have it before you can have it. Well, they feed right into that. You feel terrible because you're defending yourself, which you should never have to do. And it takes you out of alignment with the universe, because who you are is who you are, and you don't owe anybody an explanation. And it takes away your point of power, because now you're catering to them and trying to get them to approve. Well, they still have all the power, so they're not going to approve. So you gain your power back when you stop arguing and trying to explain, and you just say, this is how it is. So, and you, as soon as you say, if I say to this person on the phone who's talking negatively either about someone else or me, I don't like that you're doing that, so I'm going to go. Well, now they're mad at you. Now there's this whole scene, right? And so you don't feel good. That doesn't feel good. And that's what you finally learn. Oh, you just go, love you, got to go, bye, because you can't change them. And if you say the other things, you're judging them, which doesn't feel good to you or them. Instead, you just acknowledge to yourself that's not a space you want to occupy, and you say, I love you, gotta go, bye. If you're with them in person, same thing. And sometimes you have to do things to set yourself up for that, like stay in a hotel instead of at their house, because if you stay in their house and you have people with you, it's this whole scene. If you have to leave, if you're staying in a hotel, then you just say, oh, gotta go now, we're gonna go out to dinner. You make up whatever, but you leave. They know, you don't have to say anything. And after a while, they decide. And what you'll find is, if you think that they change, so say this is a close family member, and you have chosen to stay in a hotel in order to be able to go and see them, and you've done that several times, and everything went beautifully. So you convince yourself that they've now changed and you can stay at the house. Guaranteed, you're going to have, they're either going to say something or do something, and you're going to have to choose, am I leaving or am I taking this? Now you've learned, oh, it's only changed because my boundaries are clear when I stay in the hotel, and they don't want me to get up and walk away and leave until it's time for me to leave. If it's even more significant and they really want control and they're not okay with you staying in a hotel, then yes, you have to choose to not see them at all until they're ready for you to be able to have your boundaries and see them, or not. But being all of who, and you still, the goal in that is not to be mad at them. They're doing the best they can with the tools they have. They don't understand. And because when you're mad at them, again, they have your point of power, even if you're not going to see them. So what you want to do if you're not going to see them is do other things that make you feel good. Build relationships with people that love you for who you are. We don't have to have society's view or goal of, because you can't always do that and be healthy. And grieving is a choice too. I don't mean grieving it, but grieving a relationship like that. Like, we want them to be different. Don't get me wrong, you're going to go through that, but you get to learn to choose, ooh, if I release them and love them right for where they are and who they are and know they're doing the best they can, I get to live a better life. Because when I'm sad or mad at them for not being who I want them to be, or I think I need them to be, I'm hurting myself. I'm not affecting them. So when I can let go of that, then God, the universe, is going to bring me amazing people that I can have holidays with, or celebrations with, or build my own friend family with, and I get to have an amazing life. And then they get to choose whether they want to participate or they don't. And that's where our point of power really becomes incredible, absolutely incredible. Well, hello, Janice. How are you doing? So nice to meet you. I'm glad that this is helping, because it's absolutely helped me so much, and I'm so grateful for that. So, also wanted to let you guys know that I am having a free webinar Friday the 15th, so this coming Friday, and it's at 2 p.m. I think it's 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. We can drop the link in for you to sign up, but it is how to create your own luck in celebration of St. Patty's Day on Sunday. Kimberly says, so we use how we feel inside after a tough conversation as our guide, if we feel aligned or not. If we don't feel aligned, then okay, let's talk about whether we need to apologize or not. Not feeling aligned may or may not mean you need to apologize. It might, but it also might mean you're not feeling aligned because you gave them your point of power, which doesn't necessarily mean you need to apologize. So you want to do the work to walk yourself through the conversation that you had, to kind of say, if you, in your own frustration, which is going to happen because this is a learning, so you got to be kind to yourself and stay curious about, how could I have done that better? And then, where did I lose, focus on just being me, right? And loving myself. And I gave them that power, and then it felt bad. And then I was mad at them because that's what happens to us. We give them our power when we're giving our power away, when we're trying to get them to accept what we want in order for us to be able to have it. right? And then we're mad at them because they're not going to accept it. So then what comes out of our mouth might not be the greatest thing, because we're mad at them because we gave them our power. So if you said things that were hurtful and mean yourself, yes, you probably should say an apology for that, because you want to honor being a kind person, and so you don't want to be mean. That doesn't mean you're going to give in to them, though. It just means that next time you're not going to have the argument. You're going to realize, okay, I don't want to go down that path, because I don't want to give them my power and then feel bad about it and then be mad at them because I gave it to them. That's one of the things we get to learn to do, is own, we're mad at them because they won't give us our boundaries. We have to take them. It's our job. It's who we are. They don't understand that. And it's always been the way it was before, most of the time, either because they've always operated that way with everyone around them and you've always operated that way, or because of the two of you's relationship. And either way, you you still have to allow yourself, you have to give yourself grace, but also own that the reason you are upset and the reason you didn't handle it well is because you did give them your power, and you are working at learning how not to do that. So I hope this brings you guys some gifts, some tools that you can use as you work towards your own extraordinary life, which comes from learning to live from the inside out. That's what everything we do is about, is getting your point of power back and living from the inside out, because then it's easy for you to be kind to other people. See, if you have your own clear boundaries and they can't cross them because you're clear, then you can be kind to them when they don't understand, because it doesn't hurt your feelings anymore. You're clear about who you are and where you are. And so it allows you to be kind and forgiving of them. You may not have them, if they are determined to run over your boundaries, you're not going to be close to them, but you can love them from afar and understand they're doing the best they can with the tools that they have. Kimberly said, this makes sense. Yes, I don't want to give away my point of power. Thank you you are so, so welcome. And I'm looking forward to connecting with you again soon, Kimberly, since we have some stuff scheduled. And I love all of you guys. I appreciate you so much. I hope you have a fantastic, fantastic Monday. And come and join us for the free webinar on Friday, 30 minutes of awesomeness. There's free gifts, free giveaways, some awesome prizes. And we just absolutely cannot wait to share more with you. You are so welcome, Christina. Have a wonderful and blessed day and week, everyone, and I will talk to you again soon.